Are you ready to have your mind blown by the Focal podcast? Because here it comes.
What is up, Focal friends? My name is Sierra, and welcome back to What the Focal, the only photography podcast made by non-photographers, where we interview industry experts to hear from their stories and learn from their experiences. On this week, we're joined by the beautiful Melissa, who runs her business called Rainbows and Hot Fudge. So, welcome, Melissa. Well, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and wanting to talk with us. I'm so excited to get to chat with you a bit more.
Yeah, me too.
Do you want to just get started and get started by telling me a bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got started, all that good stuff?
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. So I've been on Maui almost 17 years now. So I'm what we call a lifer. Like I'm not going anywhere. But well, you never know what'll happen, but I'm not looking to go anywhere. But yeah, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I just a typical, blue collar family. And I started in high school. Like I just have always been obsessed with anything creative. I love crafting and that's just always been a place where I've really thrived. So in high school, I did all of my hard classes first, and I really arranged it to where, I had started doing art classes. I had started taking photography early on. And by the time I was in my senior year, I was pretty much 6 art classes and 1 regular class. So I just spent, hours and hours in the dark room, like developing my own photos and just playing around and learning, like between sculpting and photography. It was one of the most fun experiences to just have all of the supplies and the freedom and to be able to just create. And but I've always had a passion for photography. Even when I was a kid, it's a little warm here, so I've got my hair blowing everywhere. Even when I was a kid, I was always borrowing people's cameras, and taking pictures of friends, for as long as I can remember. It's just been, I feel like I look at things and in my eyes, I'm like taking a picture and I'm like, oh, I would frame it this way. And, I like everywhere I look, I'm like seeing photos that I would like to capture. So it was just naturally going to happen for me. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was there ever another form of art that you were leaning more towards, or you knew it was photography, that was your ride or die?
Yeah, well, I love creating them all. I think, like sculpting is something I really, really love. I worked with stained glass for a while. I was passionate about that, but photography, I think, maybe in my private time, I can't pick a favorite, but as far as what I would do as a profession, yeah, photography was always the creative choice. So
Nice.
Yeah, other professions in between, a lot of different things that I've done, but I always come back to photography. So yeah.
That's awesome. Was there a certain type of photography you were drawn towards when you were in high school or just starting out, or were you experimenting with everything?
Really everything. I love to take photos of people. I love to capture expression. I feel like, I'm just naturally attuned to people's expressions and reactions. So that was always something that I enjoyed, being able to see and capture. But I also enjoy travel photography and landscape and really anything pretty. From it.
I know. I always think all photographers are so lucky because your job is literally to just capture beauty every day. So it's it'd be such a nice a nice outlook on life. Just always looking for what's beautiful.
Totally. And it really does work that way. Especially with people. I'm very I guess kind of heartfelt. So when I see emotional moments or people interacting with each other, I'll tear up a little bit, and it just I don't think I've done a surprise engagement where wasn't holding back tears. I get connected, emotionally connected to the people that I'm photographing. And so it's personal. It's very personal. Yeah. For sure.
Probably speaks volumes to the fact that you're probably in the right profession if you can get
Right.
that connected.
Totally.
Was there other jobs that you had previously before photography, like anything corporate or like just like anything that wasn't creative where you're like, okay, this is not it. Like I'm going to stick to like a creative
Oh,
career
definitely.
path?
I've done a lot of different things. I managed an office, for a plumbing company, in my early, late teens, early 20s. I also was working at a photography studio, but I taught chess to kids for a while. I was a massage therapist for a few years, and all of that was great, but there was always something in me that didn't feel fulfilled. Like I wasn't getting my creative outlet. And at, this point in my life, I feel like there's not another option. I have to be true to myself. I have to do what my heart is longing for. Suffering through something that I don't enjoy is just not an option for me.
Yeah. No, I respect that. That's like such a great mindset to go into your career with because like life is so like short. Like why would you stick with a career that doesn't fulfill you like in all aspects?
Absolutely. And I have nieces that are like getting into those ages of going to college and stuff. And I just try to tell them, like, don't think about the practical. Do what your heart wants to do, because otherwise you're just going to be miserable until 20 years later you give in and do what your heart wants to do. So start now while you're young, and then 20 years from now you're going to be like booming. So, you know.
So if you weren't going to be like, if you don't think you were a photographer now, is there a certain career you kind of expected you were going to end up in? Or were you just, like trying things until they worked and like you knew like creative?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried different things. I kind of get an inspiration, and if it sticks, I like go into it. I used to own a frozen chocolate banana business.
Oh,
It was like 6 years like into it, like the food truck and a store, like the whole thing, like manufacturing and everything. And so when I like go for something, I go for broke. Like I really like go all in. But yeah, had I had the courage, I probably would have gone into acting. That's always something that I've been really passionate about. These days, I feel like if I did something different, it would be event coordination. I really love coordinating things, and I get to apply that in my work. When I get to do a custom session, or when I'm planning with somebody about a proposal or planning a newborn session, I get to use some of those coordination skills. But that's something I feel like I could really thrive in and enjoy as well.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like I've recently started doing those like NADA conferences for Focal, and I love like all the coordination that's involved in it, and I just find it's like so fun to be like it's a creative but also like very analytical, and like you need to like have everything organized, and so like tickles a lot of like parts of the brain that
Absolutely. So you're going to be in Maui soon.
Yes, I'm so excited for that. I've been like so excited planning that.
Yeah, it's going to be even better than what you imagine.
If you were to describe your photography style in a few words, what would it be?
I'm going to make a long story longer, because that's what I I have. It took me a while to find my style, right? I get inspired. I see things. I think it's easy trap to fall into on social media, especially. I see other things. And I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And then I'm like, go that way. And then I'll see something else. Oh no, that's beautiful. And I'll go that way. And I think just going back and forth, I finally kind of settled into now, like when I look at my grid on Insta, I'm like, I see my style. Like this is mine and it looks like me. And that feels really good. And looking at that, I feel like it's very whimsical, emotional, and authentic. Those, I think, would be the top three.
I love it. So beautiful. And just like in case like anyone doesn't know, like do you want to explain like what kind of photography you mainly focus on, and like what you shoot the most, kind of?
Yes. I say that I like to work with women in their biggest moments, and
yes.
It started out like, okay, I'm going to do newborn photography, and I do that. That's definitely my specialty. I have this studio that I'm sitting in that's set up with props, and I have tiny little baby beds and pampas on chairs and all the little tiny baby things. That is definitely my specialty. But I realized, like, again, I like to do so many different things that I wanted to do more than just that. And it only made sense that I would photograph women in their pregnancy, you know, considering that I'm going to be capturing them like in their early motherhood. And in that world, of course, I got inspired and I decided to get trained as a doula so that I could be there for births.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I photographed births, and not just as a photographer, like I had to know what I was doing in the birth. So even though I'm not always involved, I know what's going on in the room. I know where to be and what's happening, and how to be reverent to the situation while also being in it and capturing the moments. So it just grew from there. I realized like I'm working with these mommies, and then the next step for them is a lot of times starting a business and becoming an entrepreneur. And then I realized like I have this passion for branding. You know, I've started many businesses, and I love the starting of a business and the branding. So I love working with women in those moments. And it just you know, of course I work with everyone, but I realized that what I was gravitating to and what was gravitating towards me was women like really growing into different parts of their lives, and needing a companion to like not only capture them in those moments, but to like be able to see and like hold them in those moments. And that's, I feel like, a natural gift that I have, is to be able to like hold space for people, especially when they're feeling emotional or nervous or whatever. Is like I can be, you know, really steady. And it just kind of happened that that's what I do now.
It's so amazing. I was like looking through your photos and I was like, these are beautiful. And like I had like that quote too, like in your bio. And I was like, oh, I want her to talk about that. Like I want her to talk about like what it means to you, like celebrating women in their like biggest moments, because it's just like, it's so noticeable in all your photography that is like what you're trying to do, because you really like, you give them their moment and you make them shine, and it's just so gorgeous.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot, because you know, I do it, but I never know if it's coming across that way. So that feedback feels really good. Yeah. Like,
it's beautiful.
thank you. I feel like there's these vulnerable moments, you know, in life when things are changing and you don't know what's coming next. And to have someone who can understand that and like pour into you so that you can be your fullest self in front of the camera and like really be who you are, I feel like is an intrinsic value that I offer, that I can really recognize in myself, because my clients tell me over and over again after a session, like, I feel so uplifted, I feel so good, I feel like I could do anything. And then I'm like, yes, then I did my job. My job is so much more than just taking a picture of you, but like, I want you to feel amazing when you leave here, and then when you look at those photos, to feel that all over again.
Yeah. It's amazing. Okay, and what is it like photographing newborns? Like, is that challenging? Like, I've kind of like heard like you have to take courses to like be able to like wrap them properly. Is that true? Like, do you want to talk on that a bit?
Yeah, it's never ending. Actually, I have like a monthly membership to courses. One of the leaders in the industry, Kelly Brown, and I love her style. There are several leaders who I follow and watch, but yeah, there's always something new to learn in newborn photography, and ways to add to your skill set. And I make jokes about it. I'm like, it's the thing that I love the most, but it's also the least profitable. Because it's so time consuming. You know, sessions take a few hours, and it's a lot of soothing and you know, movement, crouching down, being on the floor. You know, I get up and I'm like walking like I'm, you know, broken, but my heart feels so full afterwards. You know, I just love babies. I've always loved babies. I'm from a big family. Like, it's just natural. It just comes very natural to be able to soothe them and know what they need. So it feels good. It just feels good to like, I'm often the first person that baby meets outside of their immediate family. And that to me is like such a privilege. And I know that in that moment, I get to make an impact on the blueprint of that family. And that's what it's all about. Like, photography is rewarding and it's creative, and it fills me up in that way. But like, I also want to be of service to the world. And if I could be of service by like, you know, bringing good energy into a situation when things are in turmoil for people, that's going to kind of calm them, and to give them something as a result of it, like, you get to cherish this like for the rest of your life. Like, it's a privilege, and it's a responsibility. And yeah, so it takes I think it just takes time with newborn photography. It takes time to learn people, to learn babies, to learn the photography, to learn the wrapping, to learn how to match colors, properly with the baby's skin tone. There's so many things that, yeah, it just takes time.
Sounds very rewarding though.
Yes, it is.
Do you find that you're often like continuing with a family and you'll like continue to do like family shoots and like follow the children's progression, or is that
Yes.
something you don't do quite as often?
Oh, absolutely. That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I do work with a lot of visitor families on the island. That's the nature of being in a tourist industry, but it's, very clear. It's been very clear from the beginning that my mission is to build relationships with local families. I want to be there. I want to be that friend in the family that when the kids come and they're in that awkward stage, that they're not afraid to open up in front of me because they know me. I've been there since the beginning. That the parents know what to expect when they get there, that they don't have to stress all day getting ready for the photo shoot and telling the kid like they have to smile or threatening them within an inch of their life, because they just know that they need to show up. They know what to expect from me. I know what to expect from them, and we're going to have a really good time together. Watching these babies grow up on social media is so rewarding. Like, you'll see my comments over and over again. I'm always like, he's getting so big. Baby, don't keep. Like, I say those things all the time, but I mean them. I just like see them and I'm like, oh, that little squish. I just get to like watch you grow. And I just love it. I like feel like I'm a part of the family with my clients, and they feel that way too. And it's just like so important for me to run a business that feels true to who I am.
Yeah, I love that. Like just like the progressions, it's like so cute getting to like watch like the kids grow up through their photos, and it's like something that they can have like forever, and it's like it's creating like a lasting moment, which is just so special. And like I love getting to talk to photographers about that, because like they love it, families love it, like it's like a win-win-win all around. And
Yeah,
it's
totally. In my opinion, that's like the best thing about social media, is that you get to watch babies grow up.
Yeah. So when you're leaving for a photo shoot, what are 5 things, either like photography or just like personal, that like you're not going to leave the house without?
Okay, sunscreen.
Oh yes, because you're in Hawaii.
Definitely sunscreen. Water. I try to stay hydrated. I'm out there sweating and in the baking sun often. Of course, my gear bag, like my camera, all that stuff. Then a backup of everything that I've brought: extra batteries, extra SD cards, extra lenses, camera body, like a backup of everything. And usually my dog.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That probably helps so much with like little kids, like trying to get them like engaged.
Oh, everybody loves him. And I'll just tie him up a lot of times near where I have to leave things, so that I can leave things on the beach and walk around and not worry about it. People think he's protecting it. He's like the least protected dog that you'll ever meet. But yeah, he's like my little
Perception.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I guess that would be it.
So when you're like shooting these like family scenes or like weddings and stuff, are you mainly on the beach, or do you do a lot of like grassy areas, or like where are you going most of the time for your like locations?
Well, with visitors to the island, they typically want to go to the beach, unless they're coming here. But there's some really magical places that I love to take people. You'll get to see a couple of them during the NADA conference, actually. But there's a forest, this magical, I call it the fairy forest, that we have, that's like tall trees and hanging vines and moss on everything.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
I love to go there. There's, some places where you can go out on these big cliffs, like overlooking the ocean. There's a park in the middle of the island, Yao Valley, that, I mean, there's 1,000 opportunities for photos in this place, like everything, different thing that you can imagine. So with my local clients, they typically want to go by the waterfalls, by the river, in the jungle, like to get what we know more of about Maui. But yeah, with the visitors, it's more the beach. But it's nice that I get to mix it up. And
yeah, probably keeps things fresh all the time.
it does. And it teaches me, because I've had to learn how to shoot in full sun in the middle of the day with no shade, which is most photographers' nightmare. But now it's one of my favorite things to do, because I've learned how to do it really, really well. And I get to learn how to do low light with, hurry fast because this kid is melting down. Like, I've had to learn how to do so many different situations. Like in the jungle, I just did a surprise proposal in this magical forest, and it's low light, and so you've got these moments when the clouds will move and you have this perfect light, and he's going down on one knee when the cloud is coming over and the light's changing. I can't stop it. You just gotta like have all these things already ready in your head. What am I going to do in this situation? And if you haven't gathered, I love to grow. I love to learn. I love to do different things. So the variety keeps me so excited.
Well, you're definitely in the right industry to be a lifetime learner, because I feel like it's like always growing, and there's always like a new technique, or like a new camera or a new lens that you can like practice with, or like try this, or like it's like constant. So you're never gonna get bored.
Absolutely.
And so you do a lot of mini shoots, is that correct?
I like to do mini shoots. It puts me in the community. I do Santa sessions, and around Christmas time, we go up to the Christmas tree farm and take pictures with Santa. That's so much fun. I like to get live bunnies at Easter, and
oh my gosh.
and the kids play with the little baby bunnies. It's the cutest thing. I like to do those sessions. It's not something that honestly, I do it for fun.
Yeah.
Not a super profitable thing that I do, but if I just only looked at my business about what's going to make the most money, I would get bored really quickly. And I just like to do things that are fun and trust that the money part is going to come and take care of itself,
Isn't that what everyone tells us? Like, do what you're passionate about and the money will follow.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, easier said than done.
To have that faith, but for me, there's no other way. Like, again, if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, then what's the point? Right?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to know, like, what are some of like the creative like mini shoots that you've done, and like what are some of your favorites? Like, of course, like the Santa and the bunny sound really cool, but like, were there any others that were really fun to do?
Oh, those are always my favorite. Santa's my favorite. My favorite. Getting to see kids like I don't even exist. Like I'm trying to tell them what to do for photos. I do not exist. Like they are like starstruck by Santa, and so many times they go speechless, and they're just like the whole time like staring like, oh my god, this is really happening. And then the parents will tell me as soon as they got in the car, they just started talking. It wouldn't stop, but the whole time they're in the shoot, they're just silent. It's my favorite mini. It's just so much fun to see how much kids love Santa Claus. And getting to provide that experience for them, it's really special.
When you're heading to shoots, how do you prepare yourself? Is it like a multi-day, like, okay, like a couple days before I'm gonna like get all this stuff organized, or like how do you organize yourself before a shoot?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's a beach session, there's not a whole lot of preparing to do, but I always send a questionnaire out to my clients to find out like who they are, who am I photographing, what kind of things do they like to do together as a family, or, what kind of interest do they have? How is their home decorated? Depending on if it's a studio shoot or an outdoor shoot, I ask the questions that I need to know to understand what I'm going to be doing. And I'm a big fan of visualization. So I'll like picture this session in my mind and kind of play out the session in my mind. And of course, it's going to be improvised and things can change as we go along. But I'll see, happy faces and lots of fun and like the completion and everybody being excited. And I just kind of visualize it in my mind. And that's usually, if I'm doing something that's going to have costumes or backdrops or whatever, of course, I'm preparing a couple of days into it. But for all my sessions, I try to like fully like visualize what that session's going to be like. On my way to a session, I really do have a routine. Like on my way to a session, I'll listen to music that gets me really like uplifted and upbeat. And I'm thinking about the session. Like, I don't want to be in my mind thinking about something else. I really try to get myself energetically and mentally into that session already. So that's where I'm at. So when I show up, I'm like there and full of the energy that's going to get everybody like on board really quickly, and I move really fast. Like I just get faster and faster. I keep telling myself I have to slow down because I get so many photos in a shoot. I'm editing for hours, but I just want to like keep the energy up. And then right as soon as I like park to where I'm going to go, I take a few minutes, at least 5 minutes, and I meditate. And I just quiet my mind, take some deep breaths, like state what I want the session to feel like, what I want, the clients to feel like. And then I take all of that and I just like get out there and lead the session.
That's awesome. This is like so good to hear, because you're one of the first people that, like, when I asked that question, that has like talked about mindset. Like a lot of the times it's like, oh, like I get this ready and then I like the physical routine, but like yours, it's very like mental, like a mental routine, like getting yourself like in the zone, which is like really interesting to learn about, actually.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I could, show up and be prepared with all the technical stuff, and a photo could be perfectly exposed and the pose right. But if it doesn't feel right, when you look at that photo, it's gonna just seem like, you went to Sears and took a photo, like very lifeless. I feel like if you want people to feel something when they look at their photos, they need to be feeling that feeling when you took them.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to create.
Now, you're one of the first people to come on the podcast that like mainly photographs like children or newborns. So I'd love, and you also shoot like adults too. So I would love to like pick your brain to know what kind of the differences are between like having to shoot children or like really young babies compared to like shooting adults.
Okay. Well, again, I have to have my energy level like
Yeah.
like if there's going to be kids, I'm listening to the happiest, loudest, like fastest music to like, so that I can meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
I think that with kids, I'm balancing two things, because I'm balancing the parents' emotions and expectations while also trying to keep the kids engaged. And so it is a delicate balance, but I think that, to just put it simply, like when I'm working with kids, the kids get to lead and I follow. When I'm working with adults, I have to lead.
Yeah.
or they'll all be trying to lead until, I have to like, I was working with a bunch of seniors yesterday, like 15 of them. And they're like, I bet this is, easier than working with kids. And I'm like, actually, no, grandparents are the hardest. They don't want to listen to me. I'm too young. They don't, I don't know anything. They want to tell. I was like, no. But they were a lot of fun, fortunately. So I was able to really joke around with them and be like, stop talking. Like, stop in your face, like things like that. So I think it's just with kids, you got to be soft and flexible. And with adults, you have to like really lead and like, I know what I'm doing, so just listen.
Yeah. I love that. So what was like one of the funniest or like the craziest moments that has ever happened on a shoot before?
Oh goodness.
I'm sure you have a lot of fun stories with kids.
The most embarrassing that happened was a couple of weeks ago. I was wearing a very long dress, so I really wasn't worried about this, but I was photographing a family on the beach and the wind hit it just right and pulled my dress up over my head. And I'm like at the whole family pose, like staring right at me. And so I just like put it down and I'm like, well, that's never happened before. I just kept going.
That was good. You just like played it off.
Yeah, I'm like, that's never happened. Here we go. Like, never mentioned it again. Like, that was the end.
Yeah. What has been one of the hardest parts to starting your own business, running your own business? Like photography is a very like solo career. So like what are some of the hardships or the struggles that come along with that?
I think the not knowing, like not having a guaranteed income.
Yeah.
Trying to set myself apart. There's over 2,500 photographers on Maui, and Maui is a very small island.
Yeah.
So, trying to set myself apart has been a bit of a challenge to get my name out there. I have so many moms that come and they're like, or they'll see me after it's too late to do their newborn photos, and it'll be like, I just wish I had known about you. And I'm like, me too. I'm trying to make that connection, like what would have gotten you to know about me, and so that's a challenge. I think that I've been challenged, especially in the beginning, with like imposter syndrome and comparing myself to other people and feeling like I never add up with anything. And that has been kind of hard. I went through some physical, like I got COVID and dealing with long COVID. There's a lot of like neurological side effects. That was really challenging to be able to think on my feet. Some days I didn't even know how to use my camera. I would get there. So I just like really had to overshoot, back up, do things 100 ways just to make sure that when I got into editing that I would have what I needed for a full shoot. There's been a lot of challenges. I feel like if it wasn't something that I enjoyed so much, I probably wouldn't have made it to this point.
Yeah.
And showing up on social media, I gotta be honest, that's like, I'm the kind of person, like, I love that it's there. I'm an entertainer. I love to, like, in my, dharma, I'm an entertainer. So I love to entertain people, but I don't ever want to say something unless I have something to say. So the expectation that I show up on this regular basis, it's something that I'm just having to contend with, because of course I want to be successful. I want to get my name out there, but if I'm not connecting with my audience in a way that's like authentic to me, then I'm not even going to be bringing in the right people. So I've had to accept that it's taking me longer to build my clientele, but the clientele that I'm building is the clientele that I want to work with for years and years.
Well, thank you for sharing those, because like everyone like struggles differently, and like, or some people like share the same struggles too. So it's always like good to hear like that you're not alone in like your struggles and like everything like that. And I'm so sorry to hear about the COVID. That's really awful. But I'm curious, like, because you're talking about like trying, like it's hard to like differentiate yourself on the island, like what are some of the things that you've like tried or like actively do to like try and set yourself apart?
I think that I've stopped trying to set myself apart, and I just started showing up as myself. I've stopped trying to be or do anything a certain way. And I really have started to just go within, because I looked outside of myself for so long, trying to be what everybody wanted me to be so that I could be their photographer. And I realized that I was fighting a losing battle, that is never going to work for me and who I am and what I want my business to be. And I've just had to start just showing up as me and trusting that that's enough and that it's going to work. So I'll let you know how it goes.
But what an amazing message though, like, because it's so true, and it's so like powerful to hear someone talk about it, because like you don't often hear people like, oh well, like I'm just gonna be like me, like that's, you just don't hear it very often. So like to hear someone like actually just like being like very authentic and like, you know what, like I'm gonna be me, and if they like me they'll come work with me, and if they don't, I hope they find someone else. Like it's just like it's so amazing to hear. And like in a world you don't hear that very often, it's so amazing.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to leave here feeling like my clients feel. I'm going to feel so uplifted. I'm like, so fine.
So what is one thing that you think people are really surprised to find out about you, either like about your business or just like when you show up to a shoot, like they're like really surprised?
That I don't have kids.
Oh, okay.
I think that because I'm so natural with kids, everyone just assumes, and they'll even say that. They'll be like, oh, so you have kids. And I'm like, I'm just super anti, like I've been anti for a long, long time, many times over and over again. And I pay attention. And, my sister has 5 kids, like I'm from a huge family. So it's just natural. And I think people just assume that I have kids, but I don't. And I struggled with that for a while. Like, oh, who am I to like act like I know what I'm doing, I'm not there with the sleepless nights or whatever, but I'm like, you know what, I have been, and I do know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna own that.
Well, and it maybe even like brings like an extra level, because like when you go home for the day, you get like that break, so that when you come back to shoot with kids, you're like ready to go. You're like, I am so excited to work with these kids. Like, you
That's a
don't have
good
that like
point.
burnout moment.
Yeah, I'm not like, crying baby.
You go from
Yeah,
one
you're right.
crying baby to like another
Yeah,
crying
I'm like,
baby.
he's crying, so what? Yeah, definitely.
What was a moment that you really felt like you made it as a photographer?
Uh, I recently got published on the cover for the second time of a local magazine called Maui Mama. And I love the magazine. I love what they do in the community. The first time it felt really good, but I was advertising with them. So some part of me held on to that, like, oh, but I'm advertising with them. But this actually is out right now. This latest cover had nothing to, I'm not even advertising with them anymore, but she had seen a photo that a friend of mine had posted that I had taken and was like, that's our cover photo, and published it. And it felt even better because it was a few years ago that I took this photo, when I was just getting back into portrait photography, and had just done this shoot for fun with some friends to like test out a new lens that I had bought. I was like, I need to try. I got my 70-200 and I'm like, I need to try this. So I was trying it out on some friends, and this is the photo that got put on the cover. And that was really telling for me with the whole imposter syndrome thing, because
Yeah.
here I am several years later feeling like it's not enough. It's not enough. And this photo that I took for practice, for fun, was enough to make it on a cover. So then I was like, you know what? It's always enough. It's been enough. Like it's enough, so just letting that go.
That's amazing. I bet it would feel so exciting to like see your photo on like the cover of a magazine. Did they
Yeah.
talk to you about them doing that? Like, did you know beforehand?
Oh yeah. Cause she
Yeah.
asked me for cause she had gotten that one off social media. So she needed a higher quality version of the
Mm-hmm.
photo. Yeah. And they gave me photo credit, and inside the cover, which is nice, but
That'd
yeah,
be so
I knew it was
exciting.
coming.
Did you like run out and like buy a copy as soon as you did?
I did the first day. I'm such a nerd, and it's at this grocery store that down the street, Mana Foods. Hopefully you'll see Mana Foods when you come. It's a revelation of a grocery store. It's amazing, but it's my favorite. And I'm in line, and there's they're there, and I'm like grabbing it. I'm like showing the cashier, this is my photo, I did this. I'm so excited. She doesn't care, but it felt good.
I bet you wanted your moment. Like, you deserve that
Exactly.
moment.
Like, this is me, I did this. And to have that like with one of my best friends, like that was such a fun thing. We had dinner and we celebrated together, and like we did a thing.
Oh,
We did a thing together.
yeah. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little like quickly here and just talk about if there was ever like low points in your business. We had kind of mentioned it before, but was there ever like a moment that you felt like a hard amount of struggle, or like, okay, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, and then what your reason was for sticking with it and why you continue to do what you do today?
Oh, I think there's been a lot of those moments every time we hit a slow season. But I mean, I think it's easy to give up.
Mhm.
The beautiful thing about having photography as a career is that there is flexibility in it. Like even right now, I do photography with another company, photographing families that come into the resorts and stuff like that. And it's casual, so that when my business is slow, I can pick up with them. And that took the pressure off of me. Before that, it was just like I'm solely depending on my business. And I think that there's a thirstiness that like comes across when that's the case, and you're trying to like get a lead, and it's like, please book or I can't pay my rent, that kind of
Yeah.
feeling. So having this other, opportunity available to fill in took that pressure off so that I can just like really be in a lean back receiving state to when my right clients come to me. I know that's great. I would rather have one like amazing soulmate client than 5 that aren't going to be that way. That I think the thing that kept me going is just acceptance, is like, this
Yeah.
is what I signed up for. It's never going to be a sure thing. But I'm trusting that I'm being led by my heart, and it's going to lead me to the right places.
Yeah. Well, it probably also like in the creative industry, it probably like having that little bit of backup like allows you to be creative and allows you to like really find the joy and the love in what you do instead of like, you know, feeling the pressure of like, okay, like this needs to be really good because I need to get like this many clients off of it, or like it just allows you to do you.
Exactly. Which is it's such a blessing.
Yeah, I can imagine. So where do you see your business going next? Either like within the next 12 months or like in the next like 5 years? Where do you like want to see growth or like change or anything like that?
Um, I have 2 things that I really want to do. I really want to do custom photo shoots, like where with people who want to invest in like costumes, hair and makeup, build custom sets, or go to like specific locations and like have props that are like, I want to do like art photo with
Yeah.
people who want to create art together. That's something that I would just absolutely love, you know, without being on a clock, or I've got, you know, 150 photos to edit. Like I want to just like get those perfect staged shots. I think that would be a lot of fun. I get to play with lighting and things that I don't always have the time to play with in my sessions. So that would be really fun. Another thing that I've been feeling inspired to move on is to run some content retreats. Comes into that coordination thing. Like I do
Yeah.
feel the desire to use that muscle more. And you know, I love people. I love connecting with people. I love connecting with other businesses. I feel like a lot of my skills could come together in like doing these kind of retreats. So that's
Yeah.
definitely on my mind.
Oh, I love that. That would be so fun.
Thanks.
And you're in like the perfect location. Like there's never not going to be people wanting to come to Maui for this.
Absolutely.
So do you have anything that makes your life easier as a photographer? Like um any technologies or like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like any
Yeah,
routines or technologies that make things easier?
absolutely. I have a workflow that I stick to, like a standard
Mhm.
operating procedure, like it's nailed down, that I stick to. That helps me because I, you know, have some ADHD stuff going on. So that helps me to not get distracted and forget to do things. It's like I always do it in the same order. That helps a lot. I know this is going to sound so cheesy, but Focal has been like really great. It's really helped me with my business. I feel like anything that I've needed, I can reach out to Lachlan or any of the crew and have gotten such like kind and prompt responses. I feel like, you know, if I've expressed something like, oh, it would be great if this feature were there, the next thing I know, the feature is there. I feel like it's really helped put a lot of things in one place, where I've been able to cancel some other subscriptions, and just having everything in one place, having a support group there to like back me up and to answer questions and to kind of walk me along. It's been fundamental in this whole process. Yeah. And then another one would be Narrative Select. I love Narrative Select. Like it helps cut my calling time down like tremendously. And it saves me hours and hours. So yeah.
That's amazing. I've recently like started asking that question just like it feels like just recently in the past like couple months, like there's so many different like AI technologies and stuff like that that are just like making it so much better for photographers to like get in their workflow and like get their photos out quicker. And you know, it takes a lot of the like dullness out of like what you do. So I just
Yeah.
like I'm so curious about like what people like what different systems people use.
Yeah, me too. I had to go back to those past episodes and find out what everybody else is doing.
I would love to know how you came up with your name. It's like rainbows and hot fudge. Am I correct? Or something like that? Like where did that come from? How did that become the name?
It was in a conversation I was having with someone. They had asked me, like, if you were a flavor, what flavor would you be? And I'm like, rainbows and hot fudge. That's just what I feel like is coming out of me. It's like I love colors, I love bright, happy, I love like sultry, like, deliciousness. I like all the things. And I've seen myself like having a brand that expands into, design and like baby toys and things like that. And I've written some children's books that I'm working on getting published. And
Oh my
I
gosh.
wanted an umbrella that it's more than just photography. And I feel like rainbows and hot fudge just kind of encompasses like who I am and what I'm doing in the world. So it just stuck.
I can see that, like, after you saying like that, like you feel like those encompass you, like I would say, yeah, 100%.
Thanks.
I was just like curious, like that's like I know you did like kids photography, so I was like, okay, maybe it's like it has to do with that. So I was just like, I want to ask.
And I'm wearing my rainbow earrings.
Yes, I noticed that right at the beginning. I love those earrings.
Thank you. Thank you.
So is there one shoot or like one type of photo that, is on your like photo bucket list that you haven't had an opportunity yet, but you're like, oh, I would go so quickly to like catch that opportunity if someone like presented me with it?
Oh, that's a great question. I would, maybe a specific type of photo. Like I would love to do some like advertising kind of stuff where I could really play with light and movement in some photos. To where all of the equipment, all the equipment's there, all that, I could really like stretch my abilities. That interests me a lot. I could enjoy that. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we are actually on the last question now. I can't believe it. Like, it felt like this like whole interview like just like blew by.
Oh,
but my last question for you is, if you could give yourself one piece of advice when you were just starting out, what would you have wanted to hear?
It would be two things. One would be, don't look at anybody else's work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other would be, learn before you buy. Learn to use everything you have to the max of its capabilities before you buy something else. I think it's easy to get caught in this trap of, oh, if I get this lens, then I can be like that photographer. And if I get this light, and trust me, I got in the hole of just spending thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment because that was what was going to get me there. But what really got me there to a place that I love in my photography is practice and time. And now half of that equipment I don't even use. So had I known that from the beginning, to just really max out my skills before adding equipment, that would have been the best advice that I could have gotten.
Yeah, that's great advice. Because it's so easy to get caught up in like, oh, the new, the shiny, like they said it was so good, so it's gonna make my workflow even better. But like I've talked to so many different photographers that are like, well, sometimes I use like a body that's like 2 generations behind, and it like works perfectly, and I love the photos I get, and like, so like I think like it really, like, your point is so valid that like it is really like the skill that you bring with you, not necessarily the tech. Like the tech helps, of course, but it's not always necessary to have the newest version, especially like in today's age. Like last year's model is like so minusculely different that like, what is it really doing?
Yeah, and the client's not going to notice that difference.
If it's better than an iPhone that they would probably be taking the photos with, like it's probably like they're not going to notice.
Exactly.
They're just gonna like get the photos and they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, amazing. They're not gonna be like,
Right.
oh, I saw that you used to, like, this looks like a body that's like 2 years old.
Right. You
Can you
could have had 2 more megapixels in there. You could have had some more megapixels. That actually brings my attention to one more thing that I would say is, oh goodness, I just forgot. It was really good though.
Oh no, it's on like the tip of your brain.
It was right there. Oh well.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast. This was such an amazing conversation. And yeah, like I said a little bit earlier, you were our first person to come on to kind of have a lot of experience with newborns and kids. So it was such a great insight getting to hear from you. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Nice to meet you. I can't wait to meet you on Maui.
I cannot wait to meet you either. You are such a joy to have on. You're such a lovely person.
Thank you so much. You too.
Well, have a great rest of your day. And yeah, can't wait to meet you and take care for now.
All right. Aloha.